way out. Morono takes the championship as Krantz taps out, and Morono can't even believe.
I always look forward to training on Mondays. It's the start of a new week, and I always feel my strongest. I like to get started early, so I have an hour jiu-jitsu session at Gracie Baja, the Woodlands, my home gym. The gym's been around for almost 10 years, and it's one of my favorite places to be. I've been there since I was a white belt and really enjoy training and teaching. We have 4 black belts there now. The training is always really hard, and we have a good group of kickboxers and MMA fighters to help me prepare for these fights. So I have a jiu-jitsu session at 7. I'm going to do some technique with a good friend and then hit some grappling, and then after that I'm meeting up with my striking coach to hit pads. We do about 5-minute rounds of pad work, and man, he's the best pad holder I know. We've been hitting together for years. He flows very well. It's always such a great workout, both mentally and physically. It's a great way to get started for the week.
I'd always been involved in traditional martial arts when I was younger. I had gone into kickboxing, and then as I got older, I was looking for something a little bit more competitive, and looking for something like Muay Thai, and just Gracie Baja, the Woodlands kind of popped up on my internet one day, and I decided to check them out, and sure enough, it kind of became home. I have never met anyone who's just as intense as him, and he's not like that 100% of the time, but when it's about to go down, he's just extremely focused. He likes things a very specific way as well, but it's just because that's kind of his routine. It's kind of like his ritual almost. And so as he goes out there ready to fight, he's just extremely intense.
After that, I'm going to go home, eat some breakfast, and then head to another gym called Team Tooks. A longtime veteran of the sport, Todd Moore, is going to be running an MMA session. We're going to hit 5-minute rounds of MMA sparring and then 5 some grappling. It's a great time to work on wrestling and cage control. There's a lot of really good pros at this session.
I met Alex when he was 18 years old. He was training with Gracie Baja, the Woodlands. I'm Team Took, and ever since I've known him as a young man, he's always had a good head on his shoulders. He shared with me that he had aspirations to take this business, to be part of it and take it to another level. And I could see that he genuinely was in it for the right reasons. He wasn't doing it because this was the popular thing to do. He wasn't in this to try to get laid or to impress the chicks. He was in this because he has a passion to be a good, complete martial artist, and this is what he loves to do.
I became a fan of the UFC super early, middle school days. Kind of put it on the back burner. When I got in my late 20s, I actually had time to start training. I found Team Took, went right in, and I loved it. Been there ever since, 8 years now. Alex is a beast. He's a great guy, inside and outside of the cage. Very respectable. I've always looked at it like, if you walk up to Alex, you would never think he's a fighter, But I mean, if you close that cage door, you don't want to be standing across that cage from him, because you will go to sleep or you'll get submitted.
I hit 2 days almost every day. I'll train in the mornings and then take a couple hours off, take a nap usually, and then head back in the evening. So tonight I'm going back to Gracie Baja, the Woodlands, my home gym, for a kickboxing lesson from 4 to 5. Then I'll be teaching a couple of kids classes, which is always a lot of fun. I really like giving back to the community and making these kids a lot tougher and more confident and strong. It's a lot of fun. After that is another really good session. I'll be teaching an adult kickboxing class. It's an hour and a half long, so we get to drill for an hour, and then we spar for half of an hour. We usually hit about 5-minute rounds. I do MMA sparring with the MMA guys, and I'll do straight kickboxing with the guys who've only done kickboxing. We have a really good, vast group of guys. There's a few really experienced amateurs. There's some newer pros, too, and it's always really good sparring. This is a great time to work on newer techniques and really stay sharp. But these are some of the hardest sessions I get. I'm really comfortable training with these guys, so we can go a little bit harder and it's a little safer, even though we go pretty hard. A lot of the times, a lot of the students and parents will sit back and watch. And man, I really enjoy this. It's a lot of fun every single Monday. Monday nights I get to teach alongside my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu professor, Alex Morono. He's a really good coach. He's been working with me for a long time, since I was a purple belt.
I was in the infantry, and that aggression, I had to keep my mind busy. Alex has kept me in the sport, because again, it's because I love him, man. I remember my wife was going, "Why are you going after all these years?" I'm like, "It's Alex." How can I not go with them? Yeah, how can I not go with them?
Cannot survive this position otherwise. Cracking elbows off the right. Referee moves in. The boogeyman's done. Morono takes the victory.
Tuesday, another early start. I have another jiu-jitsu session at 7 a.m. Man, I really enjoy the technical aspects of martial arts. So I have an hour grappling session. I'm going to work some technique and then get some rolling in. And then I'm meeting up with the team for a team run. We're going to hit 3 miles. We get a good, solid pace for the 2.5 miles. And then we really pick it up for the last half mile, and then the last 100 yards we do a sprint race, really trying to push each other. After that, we're heading to a really nice gym run by a guy named Opiano, Gracie Barra West Chase. It's downtown. It's about 45 minutes away. It's a good drive. And on Tuesday, we hit a striking session with a really good internationally known coach, a guy named Ilya Grad. And same thing, we're going to drill for about 45 minutes, and they always hit a lot of rounds of sparring. I think we're going to hit 15 rounds today. And it's always a really good cardio test, and if you don't stay sharp, you're going to get hit. So I really try to focus on good technique the whole time too.
Before I started working with Alex, I had no passion for MMA whatsoever. I didn't really care what's going on in the UFC or none of that. Yeah, it's all changed when I started working with Alex and preparing him for the legacy title fight.
I think life is about competition, you know. Alex has something that makes him different than the other kids. And he's a very dedicated person, very humble, very willing to learn, and has more heart than anybody.
After a good rest, I'm back at Gracie Barra the Woodlands for another striking session, 5 to 6. Again, working technique, doing some technical sparring, and then holding some pads. And then after that, I have one of my favorite classes to run. It's an adult jiu-jitsu class, co-taught by a good friend of mine named Joel. He's one of my students at Brown Belt now. And man, he always teaches me so much. It's always a lot of fun to work with him. But we're going to hit some drills, hit some techniques, and then get a lot of live grappling in. Now, I'll be doing no-gi, training for the fight, and there's a lot of really good grapplers out of this gym. This is where I get most of my good jiu-jitsu work, and they always push me really hard.
It's here for Morono. Fernand Brussels at a time at the side back. Alex Morono, the favourite, breaks wide. Tensions break until 5-1.
Wednesday morning, Gracie Barra West Chase again has a competition grappling class. And of all the gyms I've been to, they have the toughest group of grapplers, and they always do very, very well in competitions. So I'm going to be going there from 10 to about 11:30 and do some competition rolling with some really, really good purple, brown, and black belts. One of their coaches there, a guy named Ignacio, he's one of the best local black belt competitors I've ever seen. And you can just see it in his face when he trains. It's the same look when he competes. It's a really good training session. He's one of the couple guys who can consistently beat me when we grapple. And man, it's a lot of fun. The only way to get better is to go with guys who are better than you.
Alex is a good friend of us. He's my teammate from Gracie Barra. Sometimes he show up here. We have this competition train every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We meet the tough guys right here and we try to do a good session.
After that session, I'm going to go back to the Woodlands. And I have a kids' jiu-jitsu class to teach from 5 to 6, a teens' jiu-jitsu class to teach from 6 to 7, and then an adult kickboxing class from 7 to 8:30, and it's another time to get some good technical sparring work in. Thursday, I'm going to Houston Muay Thai. It's a really good striking gym downtown Houston. I've known the coach there, a guy named Michael Chase Corley, for a long time. He used to teach at the Woodlands, and this guy has traveled all over the world and fought. He's one of the best American kickboxers, and he's like the face of Muay Thai in Texas. He's a little older now. He doesn't compete as much, but he promotes fights and he runs this gym. So I'm going to go hit pads with him at 12 o'clock, and it's very Thai style. There's a kick after every single combo. It's a very physical workout. And then I'll be running through one of their kickboxing classes, and they have a good group of fighters, a really good traditional Thai fighters, and that training's always a lot of fun.
I'm all Muay Thai. I work with mixed martial artists on their striking. I have a boxing background. I met Alex at LA Boxing. I think I was teaching, I think it was about 2007, 2008. I was teaching there. It was like after my first trip to Thailand. It was like I was gone for 2 years, but he got really good in 2 years.
And then that evening, I have a private lesson with a guy I've been boxing with for years, and he's a really big guy. I tell him, he helps me train for these fights, man. Boxing with him is not easy. And then I have another adult jiu-jitsu class where I get to do some technical work and some grappling, which is a lot of fun, as always. I've been going to Team Tooks every Friday morning for as long as I can remember for some competition-style MMA work. We usually meet up with a big group of guys, all pros, all very promising fighters, and we usually get about 5-minute rounds of sparring in, and then we do some grappling afterwards. Lucky I'll get to grapple with Travis Took, and you guys will see in the video the guy is a black belt, one of the best black belts I know on the planet, and he will beat me like I'm a white belt.
My friend, like a lot of people, watched, rented like the very first UFCs, and I watched Royce Gracie, do his thing in the early days before it was, I wouldn't really call it mixed martial arts then, it was more style versus style, and it kind of proved the effectiveness of grappling and jiu-jitsu, being the smallest opponent and defeating all his opponents. So that was it from there. As far as Alex as a grappler, he's someone that has, every time I roll with him, it's more difficult than last time.
Then after that, I have quite a long day. I have a jiu-jitsu private at 3 o'clock with the guy I did boxing with yesterday. And then I have a striking private with Van. We saw him on Monday. And then I have a kids jiu-jitsu class at 5, an adults jiu-jitsu class at 6, and then an adults striking class at 7. And again, you just really get to work on good techniques, stay active, and it's a good way to spend my time.
Searching quickly, yeah, right there. Bam. Block a kick wrong, it snapped his forearm.
Saturdays at Gracie Barra, the Woodlands, have always been kind of like a staple for our gym. It is competition Saturdays, and we have been doing it for 9 years now. If you want to fight out of our gym, you have to show up on Saturdays, and it is not an easy day of training. From 11 to 12, a bunch of black belts and higher belts show up, and we grapple for an hour. From 12 to 1, we have an all-levels competition class where we grapple for another hour. And then from 1 to 2, we have Saturday hard sparring, which is kind of known around town, and we get down. If you want to compete out of our gym, you got to show up to that session, and essentially you got to survive. It's not meant to win; it's meant to survive, and it's a really tough session. And I look forward to it every single Saturday. It's a really good way to end the training week, and man, I wouldn't have it any other way.
only the beginning. Step up, cause you're the next one in line for the kill. You don't believe it, but I'm betting that you will. Step up, I'll let you live a little bit with the pain. Man, I bring, you know it's only the beginning.
I just love it. Started boxing when I was a teenager. It's just the one-on-one. It's like playing any other sport, one-on-one sport. You know, it's who can get that position first. You know, who's better. And for the fun of it, man, the love of the sport, the love of competing, the love of punching dudes in the face. I've met maybe one other person that's as dedicated as Alex, man, is Ricky. You know, Ricky Twisters, and they both and they're two peas in a pod. You know, they're best buds, and they're trained hard. Nobody else is lived it like these guys. You know, they eat, sleep, live the gym life.
It's funny, I remember being an amateur, I would see a lot of the pros who fought and just look up to these vets. And it's funny, fast forward a couple of years, and now I'm one of the major vets in the scene. I preach to my guys, my direct guys who compete, that it's a violent sport. You know, you have to have the mindset to kill or be killed. Some guys take it as a very, sportsmanlike, mentality, but and I do. We're sportsmen, but you have to be willing to go the extra mile. We get prepared mentally and physically to kill or be killed, and no one does die. So it is that taste of being immortal, and that's why I really enjoy doing these fights. At the Woodlands, my main training partners are my kickboxing instructor, Matt Wald. He holds pads for me all the time. We have been training together since we were teenagers. Another one, he's 3-0 as a pro, my buddy named Jake Heffernan. I am very fortunate to have him. He is tough as nails because he's my main training partner. And he is undefeated as a pro. He's 3-0 now. And I don't see that going anywhere. Another guy I train with a lot is a guy named Cameron Graves, who's 5-0 as a pro. He's at a Tooks, but we get a lot of rounds in together as well. And man, these guys keep me on my toes. If I slack for a second, they'll catch me, and I don't like to have that happen. Another guy is my friend Chris Perez. We call him Slime. He is durable. He is a guy who will follow me around for a couple days straight in a week. My mentality in fight camp, it's funny. When I'm not in camp, it's a little less stressful. I don't mind making mistakes, and I'll have a lot of fun training. When I'm in camp, it's funny. All my training partners can tell a difference. You can just see it in my eyes, but I try not to make any mistakes while I'm grappling or striking. And there's just a certain sharpness about it. And I listened to a monomarth for a couple months before my fight to get my head in the right spot. And I'm fighting a guy, James Muntasiri, and everyone in the UFC is going to be a tough fight. And the guy's a striker, so it's fun fighting a striker. Hopefully we won't do much wrestling, because that's not very fun to watch. But from what I've seen, he's technical, he's got a good blitz, and I'm going to have to be on my A game. I am going to make this an ugly, mean fight, and I'm going to do everything in my power to get my first kill in the octagon.